So shout out to y'all for doing this. And I love seeing more players get into the media space as active players because y'all's perspective is really, really needed in the space.
Hey man, Saban, welcome back to another episode of the Walk-In Podcast. Man, another banger on the way. It's your boy Trey Lester here.
Got your boy Jalen Macon here, man.
How y'all doing, man? It's Trey.
And we got a great guest right here. A guest whose the name rings bells in the FCS HBCU community, man. You see his list pop up, you know you made it, you know you're somewhere where you're doing something right. Yeah. We got our boy Zach, one of the owner of BlueBloods Sports. He talks FCS ball, HBCU ball, a bunch of lists, a bunch of All-Americans and things of that nature. So appreciate you joining the podcast, man. How your summer been, man?
Man, busy. You guys know how it is with the transfer portal, trying to put some of these rosters together. And man, there's still people, I don't even know if they got their 2023 rosters up. Some of these schools out here, man. So it's been searching social media, getting all the American stuff ready. Media days start next week. So it's been busy. I just want to give a shout out to you guys, man, for having me on the show and love what y'all are doing. And any way I can help, man, y'all let me know.
I appreciate that.
Definitely.
How'd you get into that? What made you start BlueBloods? Because you're talking about FCS, HBCU. People really don't talk about us like that because it's still Division One. We still get the nod. We're not in the EA game. We're not like Jalen. We're not in the EA Sports game. You know what I'm saying? So like, what is it like being one of the main people talking about this type of Division One?
You know, it's an interesting story because when the show first started, I had a co-host who I went to high school with, and he's not a big FCS fan. Like I grew up a Jacksonville State fan when they were at the FCS level. So that's kind of how I got into FCS football. And also to being from the state of Alabama, you guys know, I mean, there's no pro team. So it's just college. And I had a lot of friends who went to Alabama State, went to Alabama A&M, went to Samford and schools like that. And so I've always watched FCS football. And I'm just, listen, I'll tell you guys, my personality, anyone tells you is like, what's one thing I know about Zach? He's probably watching football. Probably watching film. He's probably looking at recruiting rankings. He's probably doing this. And like, that's just my thing. And so any way I could talk about football, I do. Well, when my co-host got married, got a job, graduated college, stepped away from the show, and it just became mine, COVID hit. And at the time I was actually a graduate student at Kansas State at the time. And he stepped away and I was like, man, I want to talk FCS football, man. So I'm going to just take my show and move it to talking FCS football, talking about what I want to talk about, man. It just kind of took off from there. Like you said, there's not a lot of media personalities in the space. You got the Sam Herters with Hero Sports, to Craig Haley's with Stats Perform, and it's really local media, right? Like when you look across the FCS landscape, and some schools don't even have local media. Let's be honest, like some of the local newspapers, like go to Itabena. They're not covering Valley to the point that they need to be. Even in the states like Alabama, let's be honest, those school, like even the newspaper up in Huntsville, they'd rather go cover Auburn, Alabama, even maybe a Troy, over covering Alabama A&M, and it's in the city that newspaper may be in. And it's just, I think it's important that we have not only voices for the FCS, but my big thing with my platform is I try to be more informed than other media outlets, because I want the FCS players that I interview on my channel, that I talk about on my channel, the teams I talk about, to feel like they're being covered like they would at the FBS or Power 5 level. Because I think when you look across FCS media, it's harder to find information, like insider information, unless you really have a connection. I want to make sure the stats are right. I want to make sure we got background information correct. I want to make sure these players feels like their accomplishments are being watched and the games are being watched. And we really break down the film. And, you know, I worked a lot with my guy, Gerald Huggins, for Draft HBCU. And now he writes for
HBCU, by the way.
Yes.
Big things. They're doing big things.
You know, he's a scout for the Shrine Bowl and writes for the FCS Football Central site now. Me and him worked hand in hand. we're going to be coming out with so many scouting reports for FCS HBCU guys this next year, putting them on the SI platform, because at the end of the day, scouts are looking on Google and other these places for information on these smaller school guys. We need to make sure we have the most complete, accurate information for all these FCS guys, because it's up to us to get the eyes on you guys. You guys' job is just to go and ball out and do y'all's thing. You guys rely on us to get the information out and get fans talking about you guys, get the hype going, post on social media, post on our websites, talk about you guys on YouTube. And so that's me. That's my whole goal with my platform. And that's really why I'm as passionate as I am about covering the FCS as I would be as if I was an Alabama beat writer, a Michigan beat writer, an Ohio State beat writer.
No, that's real, because nobody talks about it. Like, the only person since I was at PB, I'm at Valley now, but I think Tanner Spearman, he's probably one of the only people who really talk PB. And Tanner been around. Tanner really just started coming around the past couple years, past 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like doing things that you're doing, because we go around, we don't really, we look at this stuff, but we always know, like, they're going to talk about, we play those big games, it's not going to talk about us, they're going to talk about Oklahoma State and things of that nature. Even if we do ball out, the slim chance that we know we're going to get recognized is very slim to none. So that's really like
origin to the name Blue Bloods.
So you guys know how it is, because you guys created y'all's name for the podcast. Yeah. There's a lot of college football podcasts out here, and the pickings for like a unique name is very, very limited. And I remember, because at the, like I said, at the time we were doing Power 5 football. Well, I was reading an article about who are the true blue bloods in college football, and it was really about Clemson. Are they a blue blood with the recent success that they had? And I was like, man, blue bloods, like, that's kind of basketball, but I guess it's also a football term. And I looked it up. There was no podcast really college football wise that were called blue bloods, and it was open. I was like, for me, I think about designs and logos and stuff like that. And I was like, that blue color would really be kind of, you could do a lot with that. Yeah. And I really like it, especially that light blue that we have. And so I was like, we're going to roll with that. We didn't see anything. And it's kind of ironic now that we're called the Blue Bloods, and all we cover is FCS football. We don't talk about, anybody who a lot of people would consider the Blue Bloods. Right. So I just stuck with it, man. I think it's kind of taken on, a life of its own to a point, and I'll change it. I really, really think I just kind of looked into that, man. So shout out to that ESPN article about Blue Bloods, because that kind of launched everything.
That Blue Blood, that roll off the tongue.
Yeah. It does. It's very catchy too as well.
What do you think are the Blue Bloods of FCS football and the Blue Bloods of HBCU sports? What do you think they are?
I think with HBCU specifically, you got to start with Grambling. Okay. I mean, there's no debate around that with the success they had with Eddie Robinson, and even in like the 2000s with Devontae Kincaid and those guys. So I think Jackson is in that conversation with the amount of players that they've sent to the Hall of Fame, the NFL. They've won in every era. I think you got to put Tennessee State in there as well, especially when you look at the success through, the late 1900s, from like 70 to 90, maybe.
Too tall.
Yeah, too tall. And so like those would be the main three, I think. I mean, it's tough, because if I exclude anybody, I know people are going to be upset if their school isn't in there. For Blue Bloods,
Southern. No.
I would put Southern in there. I would say Southern, Tennessee State, Jackson, Grambling, probably A&T to a point. I think you can make an argument.
Have a run.
They did have a run, and they've had they've been good historically too. Well, outside of that one stretch where they were just atrocious, I would say those are my top 5. And I might be just blanking on somebody who, I mean, maybe FAM. Would you guys put FAM in there? Maybe slide them into...
I don't know. FAM.
It's just starting to really create that. Now, if they continue just down the line, then maybe down, what I'm saying, a couple of years later, they'll probably be in that conversation. But it's going to take them a little minute to really get to the status of where, like, the Graham and the Southerns and all that. So... Really.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because I know they won the first FCS national championship ever. They had that run, but I think they made that run when they were D2, if I'm not mistaken, before they jumped to the MEAC. They won like, I think it was like 15 conference titles in like a 20-year period when they were at the D2 level. I mean, it was just insane before they jumped to D1. But in terms of FCS, the North Dakota State is probably the obvious one you would put there. Just even they weren't a D1 program until I think 2004, and then they took them like probably 3-4 years, and then they just no one has touched them since. I think Youngstown State, when you look at that Jim Tressel run in the 90s, you would put them in that conversation. And just if you're sticking with current FCS teams, not pulling anybody back into the FCS, Montana is probably in that conversation as well.
What about James Madison? I know they got a new coaching staff, whatnot.
Yeah,
but I heard they've been pretty good.
I would put them there. I hate that they left the FCS though. I'll give them credit, man. To go into the Sun Belt and win 9 games last year is just
they won 9.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know they moved up though.
Yeah, they moved to Sun Belt. They was whooping folks too. Whooping folks.
It was crazy. If they could have went to the conference title, like there's a real shot that they could have won the Sun Belt championship last year if they were eligible.
Some people thought they would have been ranked.
Yeah,
I mean, they was whooping on folks. You think North Dakota State gonna jump up, or you think they're gonna stay FCS?
Here's the problem with them is travel costs, because you look at where I don't think people understand how far North Dakota is from a lot of conferences. Yeah, because the Mountain West, someone did a study a few years back. Their travel costs would be like $2-3 million more if they made the jump to the Mountain West. Because you got to think, how far is North Dakota from Southern California, Hawaii, Nevada, even Colorado? It's a long trip for them, and everything's TV markets, right? You see all these teams moving up. Kennesaw State is atrocious. Who would want Kennesaw State? But you get the Atlanta market. Who wants Jacksonville State? Yeah, Jacksonville State has the Birmingham type area for TV market. You look at some of these Texas teams, Sam Houston, you get a big Texas market with Sam Houston. You see Missouri State move up, you get that big Springfield, Missouri market. Does anybody want the TV market of Fargo, North Dakota?
No,
probably not. And so I just think for North Dakota State, they made the decision. And I think it's a smart one. You see all these teams wanting to move up and, chase the bag, let's just say for FBS. Well, for North Dakota State, they're like, we'd be spending more money, right? And our football team's ready to compete at the G5 level, but is our basketball team ready? Is our baseball team ready? Are we going to find a hockey
call? Else with you?
Yeah. And so for them why don't we just stay and be a big fish in a small pond and win national titles rather than jump up? Yeah, rather than
backing folks too. Yeah, that's a crazy part.
Because they would lose money. They might not lose money, but they wouldn't make as much money as people think. If the travel costs would increase, all that. But then also, are you more excited about competing for national titles because that's the standard you set, or are you going to be? Is your fan base going to be okay with going to win the Frisco Bowl every year, or the Meineke Car Care Bowl, or the Gasparilla Bowl? Is that enticing for a fan base? And I just don't know if it is right now.
They play Colorado, don't they?
Yeah, week 1. On Thursday night. It's like the same night that Jackson plays ULM on the 29th. North Dakota State goes to Colorado.
Jackson State does play. I did want to go to that game too.
Yeah. Jackson State play who?
ULM.
Louisiana Monroe.
Okay. Down the street. I want to go see that. Jackson, Colorado, North Dakota State.
That's gonna be a good defensive test as far as like discipline wise for Colorado as well. Just how that kind of like pro style pound the ball smash mouth with North Dakota State.
That game's so interesting to me. Now I think last time I saw, I think Colorado was like an 8.5 point favorite, maybe 7.5. So that's kind of low for all the hype Colorado's getting. I'll say this: I'm not ready to jump out the window and say North Dakota State is going to go in there and win. I do think it's going to be competitive.
Yeah.
The problem is North Dakota State's going to be able to move the football, right? I think they're going to be able to run the football. They got a big offensive line, experienced a 6-year quarterback in Cam Miller, who's an All-American level player, deep running back room. But the question mark is they got an All-American safety, Cole Wisniewski, who's solid. They got new corners, though. They got their defensive line's experience, so that'll be fine. It's just guarding Travis Hunter and that wide receiving core, I mean, it's going to be tough. And I think that's the matchup that it worries me, because if North Dakota State can't run the ball and chew the clock up, and Shedeur gets 4, 5, 6, 7 possessions, and they don't get pressure, they're going to pick them apart on the back end, in my opinion.
And that receiving core is fast.
It's deep.
Yeah.
It's
fast.
Deep.
Track speed.
It's definitely deep.
Talking about Deion, I didn't ask Scotty this question. I want to ask you. How do you feel about that whole Deion when he was at Jackson, and then the Deion when he went to Colorado? Because we had our own opinions. I know I did, because us playing Jackson and being in that space, we kind of felt, we didn't feel it for real, because we went to Palm Bluff. So like, the effect we really ain't feel for real. And so people were making it seem bigger than what it was. Some people thought he wasn't SWAC like Alabama State coach did. Yeah. Some people believe he was there for the good. What did you think about Deion being at Jackson and then leaving Jackson, after saying he wasn't leaving Jackson?
You know, my opinion has kind of evolved over time, just because also too, like, let's be honest, like to cover SWAC football, it's different culturally if you're not from that culture, right? Like, didn't go to a SWAC school, it's different. And it took myself time to learn that as well, because when I first got into the space, I didn't really look at it as, oh, it's me looking like me, where I'm from, covering HBCU football. I just looked at it as the SWAC and MEAC were just FCS football teams, and I was just covering it, and it wasn't that to some people. And I had to learn that and understand that when I talk about SWAC football, you have to understand certain traditions and culture aspects that you don't have to talk about when I talk about North Dakota State or Montana State. And I think Prime kind of ran into the same thing, where he looked at everything he did as business, right? And it was a business decision to do certain things and leave for Colorado and approach it the way he did. And that's not how the fan base of Jackson took it. And a lot of SWAC fans took it, because he made a lot of comments that I think were out of touch with what was actually going on. Like, when you look at some of the situations that I think he handled negatively, the whole Grambling State situation, where he was calling out fans for passing out at the games and calling the fan base out for not supporting, and you had people getting shipped out of that stadium because it was so hot, was just a complete lack of understanding of what was going on outside of the game. And then when you look at when he left, I think he did a poor job of educating the people around him on what to say and what not to say, because there was a bunch of, I don't think it was blatant shots at Jackson, but they were subliminal enough that Jackson people understood what he was talking about. Like, what coach goes into a press conference? Because you guys have been in college football, has there ever been a moment that your head coach goes into a press conference and talks about the safety of the city, of the job he's accepted? Like in Kendrick Wade's intro conference, did he talk about how Itabena was safer than Cleveland, Mississippi? Who does that? And you know what he meant by that, and you know it was a blatant shot at the city of Jackson, which I've been to Jackson a million times. It just has a bad rap. Like, why do you have to address it and take parting shots? And guys, I was at the SWAC championship in Jackson in 2022, and Prime was not on the field after that game to get the trophy. They had to go find him and bring him back to the stage to accept the trophy and celebrate with his team, because he was trying to get back to tell his team he was leaving to get on the plane to Boulder. Skip the post-game press conference, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was just, I'm telling you guys, you can ask any media who was there, the feeling on the field was so different. Because if you guys remember, that game was Saturday night, Southern Jackson. That news, Pete Thamel broke that news on Friday night at like 10 o'clock that he was supposedly leaving for Colorado. And man, the whole vibe after that game was just off. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think he did enough to educate himself on what he was getting into. And then also, you guys are all from the South and have played in the South. Religion is a big thing down here. And whether you're religious or not, you guys know when you bring religion into what you're preaching and then go against that, people in Mississippi especially are going to feel a certain way about that. And that was his biggest mistake, is bringing religion into what he was preaching with his program. And I think that rubbed everybody the wrong way, whether you were a Jackson State fan or not.
So you don't think his decision from going from Jackson State to Colorado was a bad decision? You just think the way he went about it was wrong?
Yeah. Because let's be honest, did anybody expect him? Like, I still don't think he coaches much longer after Shador, Travis, and Shiloh go to the NFL. I don't, guys.
I think so. He don't need it.
Yeah, why would he? Why would you do the stress and all that kind of stuff? Like, I think he wanted to coach his kids. I didn't think he was going to be at Jackson forever. I don't think you guys thought that, and I don't think he did. No. But how different would y'all look back on it if he was just like, listen, man, here's the situation, and I'm going to Colorado because I think it's best for my sons and I think it's best for my career. And he praised Jackson on the way out, and he didn't take those weird shots and get on the pivot and send subliminal shots to Jackson and get on. I forgot the other show he went on and did the same thing. If he would have just left it alone, said, Jackson, thank you so much, man, for giving me this opportunity. And we won these championships. And also, let's not forget what he did for the Celebration Bowl. You remember how many players he benched for that game and cut for that game?
Yeah.
And then they go and give up like 500 yards against Central.
Yeah.
If he sticks and those players play that game and they win the Celebration Bowl, and he's like, listen, guys, I brought you guys an HBCU national championship, 2 SWAC titles, man. I appreciate everything, man. Jackson will always have a place in my heart. I don't think anyone would have said anything.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, he always so big on trying to prove a point. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I think Shiloh was the only one who really liked Jackson for real.
I still think Shador did too.
You think so?
I don't know. Yeah. I think that I think the only, that's the only 2 kids I can like speak for in that, because I don't know what his other kid. I don't know about Bucky or the girl. I don't remember her name. The older one, or even the younger one that was only there for what, like 6 months. She was redshirted and then transferred to Colorado.
Wasn't it like Sheila?
Shalomi or something like that.
Yeah, Shalomi.
Yeah. I think Shador and Shiloh would have been fine staying at Jackson. They seem like they enjoyed it.
Do you think that they would have still been the same? How I want to say it, the way that Shador and Shiloh are getting looked at the lead, you think they would still getting that same look from being at Jackson State?
I don't know if Shiloh would, as I don't think, me personally, just looking at the film, taking all emotion out of it, I don't think Shiloh's an elite safety.
Yeah,
like I still think probably late day 2 pick, maybe day 3.
Yeah.
But he's not the elite prospect that Shador and Travis are. Like, those are the ones that matter. And I think, guys, I don't care if you guys put Travis Hunter at Northwestern State. Travis Hunter's a first-round pick, and anybody who's watched the film knows it. Like, I don't think Travis is effective regardless of where he plays. And Shador's a different prospect because there's times where Shador looks like the best quarterback in the country, and there's other times where you just criticize how long he holds onto the ball.
Bro.
And we don't know how good his offensive line is going to be. Like, there's a conversation, because you also got the kid down at Texas and Quinn Ewers, who's a stud. You got the kid at Georgia, who's a stud, and then you got Cam Ward in Miami, who's a stud. And so there's a conversation there where I think Shador is probably going to go first round. I don't think anybody here would be surprised. But I think at Jackson, maybe second, third round pick, maybe day 2, early day 3 if he stays at Jackson. We know what FCS prospects are to the NFL, and we're trying to change that. But if Trey Lance can go 3rd overall, why couldn't Shador be a top 15 pick from Jackson? Because if you guys remember, Jackson had 2 first-round picks in like 2001.
Hold on. Trey Lance was a different player, though.
Oh, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just saying it can happen.
That line that Trey Lance had that one year at NC State, that was insane, though.
But you don't think
you don't like Shiloh?
You don't think if Shador stayed, you don't think his numbers would have been like Trey Lance?
Stayed where?
Jackson.
Oh,
you don't think so?
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking you're talking about Colorado.
Me personally, I think Shador had it harder in the SWAC than he had it in Colorado. I think so, because his stats weren't as inflated when he was here, if that makes sense. When he went to Colorado, I think like he says the only difference is the offensive line, defensive line, right? And so I think that he's saying that as in, look, when I was over there, I was still cooking. I think his numbers would have been better. It's better at Colorado because the SWAC DBs and receivers sometimes are better than the ones that he's playing against up there. That's my opinion.
That's tough to say because you also got to think you're comparing Shador as a true freshman to Shador as a junior last year.
I forgot.
Because if Musa can make a run and no offense to Musa, but Musa, what the quarterback Shador is, Shador would have thrown for 3,500 yards in the SWAC last year, close to 4,000 in my opinion. With the schedule Jackson had last year, like you got to remember, Jason Brown was balling there at the beginning of the season, and Shador is a much better quarterback than Jason Brown is.
Yeah.
Because think about that stretch that Jacobian had last year, and I think Jacobian is going to be a really good quarterback next year for them. But I mean, if you remember, Jacobian's first start was against that Valley team, who their secondary was not the greatest, and they ran Jacobian. Can you imagine Shador throwing in that game?
Yeah.
What he would have put up?
Definitely, yeah.
I think Shador would have been an All-American last year at the FCS level. Yeah. I don't even think it would have been a debate. But I agree with you that I don't think his draft stock would be as high as, if you guys remember, Lindsey Scott threw for like damn near 6,000 yards.
Where's Lindsey?
He's in the UFL. He plays for the Rough Riders or whatever the Houston team is.
What color is the team?
They're the light blue and black.
They got the Oilers colors, don't they?
Yeah, they're the Houston like Roughnecks or something like that. Yeah. He plays for them, and then that same year, or the year before, you had Eric Barrier at Eastern Washington, who threw for like I think 15,000 yards in his career, damn near, and then Cole Kelly at Southeastern. Remember him against FAMU in that playoff game?
Yeah.
He lit it up.
Yeah, he was like at Arkansas first.
Yeah.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, he played as a true freshman at Arkansas, and then had a legal issue, I think like a DUI or something, and got it came down to Southeastern and had like a crazy career at Southeastern.
Yeah, crazy.
Put Southeastern back on the map.
Yeah, they sucked last year. They lost him, and they sucked last year. They won like 3 games.
I like Shiloh. I love Shiloh. Me personally, I think this is his year. He gonna jump off the charts first round. Easy. First round.
First rounder.
First round.
I like the prediction. I'm
early mid second round, bro.
Yeah, I definitely got him going early second.
Yeah.
I don't think him going past day 2. If he go past day 2,
it's scary.
Yeah, it's gonna be scary. I really like him, bro. I don't know why. I just like how he plays ball, bro.
I like his tackling. Like I do like the toughness he has. It's just him in space worries me sometimes. Where it seems like he there's times where he can cover, but then there's other times where it looks like he just spaces out, and it's like he doesn't know where he is sometimes, and it's like, bro, if you're just like a few yards over, you're in the right spot, but you're late.
Yeah,
I just like that. That's the only reason I don't think he's a first round guy, because I just don't know if because to be a safety and go in the first round, you got to be a dog.
Yeah, you got to be a dog.
And that's what worries me. Because if he was a pure corner, that'd be different. If he was a pure corner, because corners go first round all the time. But to be a true safety and be in the box safety, which I do think he kind of projects as, like those guys are tough to go first round.
Can you give us, if he reaches the potential that you can kind of see him at, give us an NFL comparison on who you think that would be closest to him?
Yeah.
Shallow?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Man, you put me on the spot with this one. Man, I'll be honest. I hate NFL comparisons because anytime you name a player, they're like, oh, okay, well, this guy made this many Pro Bowls and this and that. And that's so tough. Oh, now I got to think. Do you guys have any? I'll be interested. I'm trying to just go off the top of my head.
The first name that popped up to my head was J-Ron Curse. He can't. J-Ron Curse can guard a little bit. He in the box. He can hit. I'm Cowboys fan, so I'm not expecting J-Ron Curse to cover a slot. I'm expecting him to stay in the box, roam the box, hit something, pop some fumbles out, do it like a smooth. He just play his role. I think that's what Shiloh is. He ain't gonna cover the big. I ain't putting Shiloh in the slot. I ain't putting Shiloh out, and I'm gonna keep Shiloh in the box. Let him hit, come down, smack some. Maybe guard a tight end on the back end if I'm feeling a little nickel coverage a little bit. I kind of thought J-Ron Curse a little bit.
I got a name. I just saw one. Jonathan Abram.
Ooh.
If you remember, he came out of Mississippi State a few years back. I think he's with the Saints now.
Yeah.
He's a guy who is about, I think he might be a little bit shorter than Shiloh. They probably weigh about the same. Not a guy who's a real big coverage safety, but can hit, a big tackler, racks up. So like that's the play style I see is a Jonathan Abram where you can use him as almost kind of like a sub linebacker almost.
Because we're on the subject of SWAC football. What's your predictions for this season? Because we've talked about numerous times that this season is one of those, like, you don't know what can happen. Everybody left the portal. It's one of them, like, Trail thinks, look at Trail. They were talking about Palm Bluff. I'm in Valley. You know what I'm saying? I feel very strongly about Valley because they got a lot of young talent. I like the quarterback, young kid. But being unbiased, I think this is one of the most level-headed, level plans, like, because you got new coaches everywhere, you got new players, new staffs, new schemes. What do you think are like? Who do you think is going to be one of the teams, or what's your expectations for the season?
Oh man, I just did a 2-hour show with my guy Coach Fred over at Alcorn about this, and we did like win totals for everybody. I think it's a three-team race in the East, where you got Jackson, Bama State, FAM. Those are by far, I think, are the top teams. And I get the hype around Bethune. It's just, I just haven't seen them put it together yet, if that makes sense. Like, I think Bethune has a lot of individual talent. I just don't know if they're a team yet, if that makes sense. And then A&M, you got Maynard, who's might be on the hottest seat in college football. And
he's still over there?
Yeah, he's the last year of his contract. I think this might be the last year that he's there. We'll see. But, and then with FAM, Jackson and Bama State, though, the team I feel strongest about is Jackson right now. And I didn't feel like that when I first kind of got into film study looking at rosters, but there's not a lot of returning quarterbacks in the SWAC. Even though I know Andrew Body is an experienced quarterback in the SWAC, it's still a new offensive coordinator, a new team. And let's be honest, I don't think people have talked enough about Keyshawn Johnson walking out the door at wide receiver. Like that kid,
Scotty said the same thing.
Man, he was a freak for them last year on the outside, and I just don't know what their wide receiving core looks like. They got a lot of experienced guys that haven't been the guy, if that makes sense. They had a bunch of role players, but no one's really stepped up to be the star there. But when you look at Jackson, probably the best offensive line in the conference, and I think I know that might be controversial, but you look at guys like Evan Henry coming back. You got Kirk Ford coming back. You got the freshman All-American Quay Davis who is coming back at tackle. You got the Cameron James kid who started like 6 games last year. They have a bunch of guys with starting experience. You got Jacobian at quarterback who looked good over the final few games. If you remember, they were in that Alcorn game until he got hurt. Then as soon as they put Jason Brown in, it came apart for that offense. But Irv's back healthy, who I think showed last year. I think he had like 800 rushing yards before he got hurt, and
he was going crazy.
Yeah, you got him coming back. Rico's coming back at wide receiver. Fabian McCrae's back at wide receiver. Both of those guys have potential. Rico's just got to get on the downfield, and that frustrated me last year a little bit. And then defensively, Jeremiah Williams comes back at D tackle. My biggest question for them is edge rusher, though, because you look at those great Jackson teams, especially under Prime. You had Niles Gaddy, you had James Houston, you had these edge rushers that could change the game. Last year they were missing that, so I really need them to develop an edge rusher. And with FAM, the big question mark is quarterback, right? Because this is kind of the first year we don't know, and then you also lose your play caller. I know Willie was the head coach, and they bring back their OC. Willie Simmons was calling all the plays there. Is he going to be able to bail that team out? Is Henry going to be able to bail that team out when they need it? I don't know. I think FAM's got the surrounding talent. They're going to load it at running back with Dean and those guys at running back. Wide receivers fine. O-line's fine. Jalen Goss is a monster, in my opinion, on the offensive line for the Florida State transfer.
Exactly, yeah.
James Ash comes back at D tackle for FAM, who I really, really like as a player. I think he's probably a top 10 D tackle in the FCS. Linebacker, because I don't think Isaiah Major was talked about enough last year in terms of how much of an impact he really made for that defense. And then you got Kendall Bowler. Yeah, Kendall Bowler's that dude on the outside, man. I really, really like him at corner. And then Bama State, the question, like I said, is offensively. Just what is their scheme going to be?
Shout out Rico.
Yeah. So we'll see about Bama State, but in the West, bro, y'all's pick as good as mine. I just want to put some names in a hat and pick them out because I mean, look at the question marks. Alcorn's got a new coach, Southern's got a new coach, Gramblin's got a new coach, Hampton's only going into year 2, Texas Southern is Texas Southern. I mean, and then PV's got the most experienced coach, and Bubba McDowell's only been there for 3 years, guys.
Bro,
that's the most experienced coach in the
PV
West.
is like the Spurs, bro. PV is just like the Spurs. Like,
yeah.
I don't get it. I've never got it. I never got it. It's like the Spurs.
They were the best worst team I watched on film last year. Like if you guys go watch their Alcorn film, it's like, how did they win that game? Then they go get beat 30-0 by Houston Christian, who gets beat 30-0 by Houston Christian, and then they still find a way to win the West.
Hey,
we had them.
I don't
win it.
Yeah, you guys did. Y'all kind of handled it.
Yeah, we gave them free win.
Yeah. We did not.
They got a few. They had a few free wins last year. If you go watch it,
I didn't think PV was really like.
They weren't.
Oh,
they just benefited off everything else. Like that's what it was.
They won the West, and if I had to ask you guys, like, who was the most impactful player for them, we all might have different answers. That's how they did. They really didn't have a superstar on that team. I think they had one all-conference selection, and they won the West. Like, make that make sense.
I can't think of anybody.
Maybe the quarterback. Maybe
the running back.
Oh yeah, Caleb and then Ahmad were 2 solid running backs. Yeah, but in the West this year, if I had to, God, you guys put me on the spot on this one. I don't know. I think right now I would lean PV or Alcorn if I had to like pick a team to win it, just because Alcorn's defense is good, and I think Malachi Bailey might be the best defensive player in the SWAC next year.
What about Kelby?
No, Kelby's right there. That's 1A, 1B for me. They're both All-Americans, in my opinion. They're both All-Americans for us last year. We preseason. Those 2 guys are legit. I do like Malachi's pass rushing better than I like Gibbons.
Malachi's he got a little bag.
And I think he's going to be motivated because he called us out that he wasn't All-American last year. He was pissed about that. He reached out to me on that. But I will say, PV, they added a quarterback from, I think it was Kilgore College. And he fits kind of the mold of a quarterback that is good in the SWAC, where he's not a run first guy, but he has mobility to get out of the pocket and move. I think he ran for like 400 or 500 yards last year at Kilgore and was the #1 efficiency leader in JUCO football last year. He's like 6'4". The kid can ball. The problem with PV is their defense, man. You guys remember how bad their defense was last year?
No, we don't.
Yeah, man, they were atrocious at times.
Weird. It's just weird. Their defense is just like, I don't get it. When you watch it on
they've run
film,
the most basic defense of all time.
Bro,
and it worked. It was a simple 4-2-5. They ran cover 3, cover 1.
Cover 3, cover 4.
They barely stunt, but
yeah.
That PV team with Dumas, though, that was probably the most talented PV team I think they've had in a long time. I mean, man, Dumas and
nightmares about him.
That what was it? The 2021 SWAC championship game. That was the single most dominant performance I think I saw in the SWAC for a losing team. They were trying to triple team that man at the 1. He was playing nose, and he was still getting sacks being triple teamed. I was like, can someone just cut this dude? Why are we trying to block him? And
that dude gave me nightmares the day before. We would like, that's when we had to come on your mind with the block dudes.
Yeah, that's my guy though. Mind. I can't believe he was that dominant at that size. Because Trey, you've been heads up against him, bro. He's like 5'9". They had him listed at 5'11". That dude is 5'9".
It's because he benched 500 pounds. That's why. Because he benched 500, he squats 700. That's why. That's
insane.
Like, I never seen it. He quit too. Now that was before when he went to Southern, he gained a little bit of weight because he's back at home eating good. But that PV Dumas, yeah.
But that's where I would have it. I would say Alcorn or PV out of the West, and then I think I'll take a Jackson out of the East.
I understand why you didn't pick us. We're not up there on your shelf behind you. I understand. You gotta stay home. It's understandable.
I need a UAPB. Man, people ask me all the time about those helmets. It was like, do you know how hard it is to find FCS mini helmets? Like, there's brutal.
I'm already knowing.
Trey, you'll laugh. I had a Valley fan like, man, just order a Valley helmet. I was like, where the hell am I going to buy a Mississippi
I don't know where
Valley
you're gonna
State
find
helmet?
One. Valley now, new at Valley. You got Trailer PB. What's your expectations for Valley and PV? This is a little hometown. We just want to know,
I'll say this with Valley. My biggest question for Valley is just defensive line one, but just consistency, man, because that you look back at that team last year and you look at that offensive explosion they had where they put up 42. I think it was that UAPB game. Man, what happened to that offensive performance? Then they go and they can't score for 12 points a game against anybody else. And it's just like it shuts down. And I think the development of that true freshman quarterback is going to be huge because I do think they put him in some good situations, but he's got to play. Playing a full season when you got film now is a whole different case. And you guys all three know that. It's good to have that breakout season one, but now when teams got that film on you, you got to take your game to the next level because now they're going to game plan against you. I think Valley's running back room is the real bright spot. There's some young guys in there that I'm really, really excited to see take the field. Zamari and Kendall, especially, I've have real high hopes for that kid. I was hoping to see him more last year, but he redshirted. And then, Trey, not to put no pressure on you, it's the offensive line too. Because I think last year I was talking to Wyatt, Valley running backs, I think they average less than a yard per carry before getting hit.
Yeah.
It's just not the recipe for success. I think there's some promising wide receivers, some good secondary pieces. The thing with Valley is just getting over the perception, right? Because, Trey, you've heard it being there now. Everyone's like, oh, Valley's Valley, man. Let's just go out here and get 1 or 2 wins, and we're going to be happy with it. It's just getting over that, I think, for that program. But for PB, the biggest question for me is still quarterback, right? Like that's got to be the question mark for me because I don't for right now. And Trell, I know you're going to defend your guys, and I'm cool with that. Yeah. To me, I don't see a proven guy yet that's ready to be the guy. Now, I do think running back, man, I think y'all are going to be fine in running back.
Oh yeah,
y'all got enough guys in the backfield. I think y'all are going to run the ball a whole lot. I think, listen, wide receiver loaded as well. But the biggest question for me is quarterback. And then defense, man, it's just stopping people, not having that breakdown game where it just gets away from you. Because I thought you guys played a lot of close games early last season. And then in the second half, it just spiraled. And so it's just establishing that consistency. I will say y'all's offensive line has some talent coming back on it too. Now, I know you guys lost some people like my guy Trey, the portal, everything, but there's some guys in there that I think have promise.
Yeah, CJ Van Buren, them guys. Like I like CJ a lot.
We didn't really lose Trey. Like we wanted him to leave, honestly. But,
that's crazy.
But that's
wild. That's a wild statement.
And we're gonna see homecoming. I ain't worried about it.
I think the hardest thing for y'all, for both of y'all's teams, though, is man, y'all need to just go sit down with y'all's AD and be like, why in the hell are we scheduling some of these damn games? Like Valley don't play a damn home game until like October.
Yes.
Like, what are we doing with that?
We got four I think it's 4 away games before our first home game.
That's to start the season. And
they're all
Alcorn after a bye week. And then you look at Valley's schedule, they play Tennessee State on the road, who was a pretty good team, has a good bit of talent coming back with Eddie George. Then you play Nichols, who won the Southland last year. You play Lamar, who finished above 500 for like the first time in 10 years, it feels like, with that program. And then you got Murray State in the Valley.
Games, boy, yeah.
It's our first floor.
That's the first
we got
4 games, all on the road.
That's the money, right? That's the money. That's some games
just,
you got to come with your mind on it.
The SWAC, I mean, y'all's AD screwed y'all, and then even the SWAC schedule, right? Y'all got some brutal just trips throughout the. I don't know what y'all did to the SWAC AD, but y'all got to go have a conversation with them and figure out what happened.
You got to go to Tally. You got to go to Jackson. You got to go to You got to go somewhere else. I think we're going to Montgomery. We got some. I'm excited though.
The swing games for Valley are A&M, I think, the last week of the season, because there's a chance that Maynard could be packed up at that game, and that's a home game. You got to win against Alabama A&M. UAPB is another one that game on the 26th is going to be huge for both of y'all. And then also Bethune-Cookman on homecoming, man. That's a game that
I'm excited.
Valley needs that one, in my opinion, to really, really feel good. And then you guys just got to find one of those first four to win. I don't know which one. I feel most confident about Murray.
Murray, yeah. I like Tennessee State, too. Tennessee State lost a lot of guys, too. And I know because you got Monroe left, the safety left. They had some offensive linemen leave. So I don't think Tennessee State, and this goes for Trail, too, I don't think this is going to be the same Tennessee State we played in the Southern Heritage Classic.
Do they still have that lineman?
No, Allen went to Tulane.
Now, Jalen Bell is coming back.
Yeah.
Jalen Bell is probably like one of the highest rated guys on their team, but that's just like he was at Valley. So I think Tennessee State, I'm excited to see what Tennessee State does this year because of what they did last year and see if they can still go with Coach George and them on the squad.
Their offense is going to be pretty similar. I think they're bringing back almost a whole wide receiving core that played y'all. Was Draylon starting when y'all played?
Mm-hmm.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
Okay. So Draylon will be the starter this year from what I'm hearing. And then they still got that running back, Gant, who was a redshirt freshman. I think he was 29 last year. He's coming back. And then I think they only returned 2 defensive starters. They returned the corner, number 10. Is it Hollis? Fondren Hollis. And then they returned one linebacker, I think, coming back to start. And then obviously Bell's kind of a half starter because he got hurt at Notre Dame. And he's coming back. But then, like, you look at PB's schedule, man, that Tennessee State game is big again, right? Then back in the Southern Heritage Classic, and you guys played them so close last year and had a real chance to win that game and let that one slide. And then, listen, I'll be honest, I'm really, really high on Central Arkansas this year. That's gonna be a tough game.
Y'all play UCA?
Yeah, they play UCA, but I think y'all got them at home, right?
Oh, I think it is home. That's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I think they traveled to PB this year. Yeah. Oh yeah, McElwain's a good. And then they got that DN, man, David Walker
and Kenny Kadarius Clark.
Kenny is there too. I forgot.
They're a top 10 preseason team in like the preseason poll I voted on. Like I had UCA at like number 9 in my poll. Yeah, they're gonna be good. But no, let's be honest. I think with PB, obviously Valley for homecoming is going to be a big one. But then you got to get Texas Southern. I think Texas Southern is not going to be very good this year. I'll be honest. I
gotta go get that one.
Yeah, that's a big one. And then also you got A&M at home is a huge one. And then also it'd be think about the massive upset that Friday night game against PV would be at home. You get them on a Friday night, short week. I think kickoff's at like 9:00 for some reason for y'all in that game. It's like a late kickoff. So that's always a trap game.
Which thing this is going to be between us and Valley?
So I'll be honest, I ain't gonna lie. I've had Valley winning that game. Right now. Okay. I got less question marks about Valley, but also to be fair, I also know the roster because neither school I don't think has a completely updated roster up. Lean Valley right now just because I don't have uncertainty at quarterback for them. Like I do for you guys.
Valley, it's the built Coach Wyatt built brick by brick, new Valley Trail.
So like you got to win by what? Like 3 points or something?
Yeah, I think it'd be like 7. It'd be a 1-score game. I don't think they're gonna beat y'all by 30 again. That's crazy. I don't think they were 30 points better than y'all last year at all. Now if y'all can get the NIL up and get Jalen back, I might flip that prediction, man, and give y'all the win. Y'all got
coming over here.
Hey man, you can take my crib, man. You got it.
But one more thing before we let you go, I gotta ask you, and this is probably what people want to ask is how do you make your list? Like, what do you look into making your All-American list, your All-SWAC list, your All-Conference list? Because I want to know. Me personally, I feel like I want to know. I feel like I need to know.
Yeah, I'll say this, Ben. We've been working on our preseason All-American, so it releases next week, and we started working on it at the beginning of February.
Golly.
And at first, it was getting all the rosters, updated the best we can in terms of who's coming back and getting people on the right team. Because I'll be honest, the most frustrating thing is, and you guys have probably seen it with even some of your friends and teammates, bro. Some of you guys don't have social media that y'all update. And I'll go try to search somebody who transferred, bro. They got their commitment post from 2018 on there and high school stats. And I'm like, bro, where are you at right now? Like, there ain't no updated rosters anywhere. It was frustrating. But we've had an Excel sheet built out, and on the Excel sheet we have like everybody's PFF grades, everybody's stats, everybody's like any advanced analytics. We also, since Gerald is a head scout, we got all the updated NFL grades for all the guys that are on the NFL radar in terms of, are you a potential day 1 prospect, day 2, day 3, UDFA? Are you on a watch list for the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, everything like that? And I'll say our process for O-line's a little bit different, just because me playing offensive line, I think film plays a bigger role in picking offensive line than any other position. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I'll look at the all SWAC lists that were voted on by the SIDs and everything, and they're atrocious. They are. I mean, because
I had to clap that one up. I'm sorry.
They had guys who I thought were All-American level last year, and they would be second, third team all conference. And the guy they had on first team gave up 8 sacks, and the guy who was not on all conference gave up 1 playing tackle. And you got a guard on there that gave up 8 sacks. Do you know how hard it is to give up 8 sacks at guard?
Look,
when you don't get a lot of
gotta say, man. The film don't lie. Numbers don't lie. I'm just saying, numbers lie, film don't lie.
I think so. For us, we watch film on as many players as we can. And obviously, you guys know, man, there's 130 teams, so we probably don't get to everybody. But what we do is we get a list of returning all conference guys, returning all Americans, and then our guys that are borderline that we think could have breakout seasons. And and as a team, we try to break down as much film as we can on those guys. And then on top of that, we have the statistical component, because I understand people are like, you don't want to just base it off of stats, but at the end of the day, stats matter. If you're a wide receiver and you caught 500, yards of receiving, sorry, bro, you're probably not going to be on the All-American list. Like, we have kind of benchmarks that we have set for each position, where if you had over 1,000 yards as a receiver, you're automatically entered into, like, probably the potential category or anything like that. And then we'll go watch the film, pull advanced analytics, everything we can to say, well, if we had this wide receiver and this wide receiver, how did their schemes differ? How many targets did he have? Was he what type of competition was he playing? Did he get all the stats in one game, or was he consistent over the year? Because that's something you have to look into, is where some guys will have inflated stats because they went and played against, no offense to the school, like Virginia Lynchburg. Well, if you had 400 passing yards in that game, but you were struggling the rest of the season, I don't know if you're an All-American player, or you just had one good game. The biggest thing for so just to give y'all an example, D tackle and offensive line are probably the 2 positions we spend the most time on, because those are the 2 misunderstood positions. Because the thing that bothers me with all conference, not my bad for the rant, is I see all conference teams where they'll have 5 offensive tackles on first team. And it's like, how is that a true all conference team when, you got the 5th best offensive tackle, but is he better than the best center in the conference? Is he better than the best guard? So we try to have where we expand our positions to 6. We try to have 2 to 3 tackles, 2 to 3 guards, and then a center on everything. Because centers, for some reason, grade out really weird compared to offensive tackles, and their grades are super inflated if you play left tackle versus center. And D tackles get overshadowed, where you'll look at some All-American teams and there'll be 15 players selected. All of them are edge rushers.
Yeah.
Well, some of the best defensive tackles might not load the stat box, but they're way more impactful, like Jalen
Gentle
Bell.
Hunt or
Gentle Hunt. Bell.
Big,
And then also corner, I think, is misunderstood as well, because everyone kind of just looks at interceptions. And I'm sure Jalen, being the quarterback, can tell you, watching the film, there might be a guy with a lot of interceptions, but he might not be the best defensive back, because the best corner only got targeted 14 times last year, rather than getting 60 balls thrown at them and getting 8 picks on the other side. So we try to pull as much advanced analytics stats as we can, and then we all get on the phone and get on like StreamYard or Zoom, and we debate. I have my guys that I'm going to, bang the table for and say, like, I think this guy's All-American level, and we go through everything and talk it out, and we go through and lock in certain positions, and we have multiple meetings throughout the year to get that done. Now, postseason's a little bit expedited just because it's harder because we got to get it out before the playoffs and things like that. But during the preseason, man, it's a really, really strenuous process because I don't think, for me, I take to heart that if we like had a snub where like if we just completely overlook somebody, like I hate that so much because like I talked about at the beginning, you guys ball out. It's my job to make sure that the guys who are balling out the highest level get the accolades because, as you guys know, that plays into account of, can a player transfer up? Does he get an offer to go play at a G5 FBS school? Does he get on an NFL radar? Because you don't think the Senior Bowl is out there making notes like, oh, Jalen was a Blue Bloods All-American, an FCS Stats Perform All-American. Let's put him on our radar because if he's an All-American quarterback, we got to look at him. But if I overlook Jalen, he's not even All-Conference or All-American, man, Jalen might not get the looks if we don't do our job. So I try to include everything I can and take like a holistic approach. And so that's kind of the process, man. And I just want to make sure that the players that are doing the most, man, get their recognition.
That made me feel a little bit better. That made me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, because Trey's a hater at heart, so
yeah, definitely.
Dang.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say hater. Real, just recognize real. You feel what I'm saying? Real, just recognize real.
How much do you guys pay attention to like the all SWAC lists that come out from like the conference?
Trey does.
Okay, so look, I do.
Trey does.
I do.
Trey's gonna look at that list. He's gonna revert back to stats. He's gonna revert back to film. He's gonna do all these things. Basically, Trey is like a mini version of one of y'all. Basically,
that we want to know because sometimes I feel like I should have at least one. I feel that's just personal preference. Feel like that year Mark was there. Really, I should have had at least one that year. Kayvon hit 1,000. He led the SWAC in rushing yards. Things of that nature. But sometimes I just like to keep up with it because I like this space that we're in. Because I always knew I want to do a podcast of this nature, and I knew sometimes I just want to keep up with it. But sometimes I just want to see people earned it or not.
Man, shout out to Mark. And that was Mark was actually my first or second interview on the channel ever.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like that was my guy. Like I'm telling you, when we launched it, I went into the meeting and I was like, bro, we don't even have to talk about this. Mark Evans is an All-American. And I was like, I've seen the film, I've seen the stats. I was like, he's All-American. Put him on there. Like that. Mark's my guy. Like I loved his film. Like I told everyone like he was the best offensive lineman in the SWAC for like 2 years straight. I felt like. And I mean, and also you mentioned Kayvon, who, man, shout out to him. He was an All-American for us last year at Tarleton and probably be a preseason man. I wish he would have stayed in the SWAC. I know. But hey, he's balling right now at Tarleton. You got to give him his flowers, man.
What you guys say about Kayvon?
What you guys say, Trey?
Yeah, I mean, like me, I give him a hard time. Yeah, I gave money on the table. Let's be real. He could have had 15.
Hey.
He left money on the table. He's not that good, man.
He left a little bit of money on the table. He wanted hard to know. That's what he be saying.
He ain't trying to feed the family for real, man. He don't want it.
Yeah, I'm blaming you when he runs for 2,000 next year. He's gonna hear this show and run for 2K and be like, it's because Trell was on that show talking.
Yeah. Boy, hey, he gonna come back and Trell. Oh, we wanted enough.
Yeah,
he's gonna clip this video.
He gonna put this into him.
He'll probably put it in his highlights or something.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you joining on, getting on, talking with us. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. Got any advice for us as we try to elevate the game?
Oh man, I would just say, man, just keep being y'all. For me, I wouldn't get discouraged by anything, man. The views, the comments, man. I just say never look at the comments, man. If you guys hit end on any episode and y'all felt good about y'all's performance, man, it doesn't matter if someone else didn't like it, because that's, at the end of the day, I would rather have a chat full of 200 people who really, really support the show, tune in for every episode, care about the direction, are interacting, rather than 1,000 subs that just don't care or don't tune in and really don't support the show. So I would just say, man, keep building up y'all's fan base, man. And at the end of the day, I think people watching can really, really tell authenticity on the camera, because it's really, really hard to fake out a lot of the people who watch these more than you know. And also, too, just keep in perspective how fast y'all are growing. Because I think that's one thing that I struggled with at times is, you know, you see certain channels grow faster than you, or certain people get opportunities before you, and things like that. And I just had to like kind of center myself. And I had someone tell me one time, I was making a push for 1,000 subs, and I kept seeing all these people get it. And it was like, man, if I put you in a room with everyone who subscribed to your show, man, what would you say? And at that time I was at like 700 subscribers or so. Man, if I put you guys in a room with 700 people who were subscribed to y'all's channel and watched y'all's show, man, y'all be like, damn, that's a lot of people. Like, do that many people really watch our show? And so it's just kind of grounding yourself with that, man. Just reminding yourselves that it's a process, but you guys have way more people listening to you guys than you think. Because I'm telling you, I was at the Alcorn Southern game, and this is when I first kind of started the show about a year or two ago, when we really started blowing up. And the referee walked off the field during the game before the kickoff and was like, Blue, man, I love your show. I was watching it on the way down here for the game and telling me how much you support it. And I was like, man, who in the heck, like, do I really have people watching the show like that? Like, the head referee of the SWAC is watching the show. And then to hear the coaches, man, when you go to the games, it's like, man, I watch your show and love what you're doing for our kids, man. You got to watch out for this guy, this guy, this guy. Anytime I get a player or a coach that tells me how good the show is, man, really take that to heart, because that means you guys are doing what y'all are supposed to do, man. And you guys are doing a hell of a job for just starting the show, man. And so, man, y'all just keep grinding. It's going to grow. I'm telling you guys, because the player media space is growing exponentially. And I'm telling you guys, it's only a matter of time before this thing explodes, especially if y'all just keep the consistency up. And that's the key, is just consistency, man. Releasing those episodes when you need to, weekly, daily, whatever y'all want to do, get that schedule set. And as long as you're consistent, bringing good content, man, it's only a matter of time for y'all to get there.
Definitely.
No, that's
we
real.
appreciate it.
Yeah, we need to hear that one.
We appreciate it.
Trill, you want to hit us with the outro?
Nah, Trey, you didn't do it last time, man. That's how you do it this time.
All right, bet. Trey, hit the music. Boom. All right. We appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Now it's, they feel me. No, hold on. Okay, here we go. You see me, you feel me, but they don't want to. Nah.
Hey, Mac, let's wrap this up, man.
Yeah, J-Mac, go ahead, dude. I tried.
Hey, free me.
Yeah.
So you see me, like Boss Man D-Lo, get up with me. You hear me?
Oh, okay. Appreciate y'all for watching the walk-in.
Some shit we gotta address. Man, I hear they want us to flop. Psych, that's never gonna happen. The Walk-In podcast drops every week. Top 10, the best HBCU podcast.